The government says more than 9,000 Ukrainians have come here since January 1st, but most did so before Russia invaded and began applying for visas under a different program. So how soon could Ukrainians arrive in Canada under this new program? Sean Fraser is the Minister of Immigration and Refugees. He joins us from Edmonton. Minister Fraser, good to see you as always. Thank you for making the time.
A pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
If a Ukrainian applies today, how soon could he or she be here in Canada?
We expect the processing time is 14 days to get people approved to come, and then it would be as simple as traveling to Canada after that. So it's a 2-week turnaround from application to potential arrival.
And if they are unable, I'm just thinking of so many of them that my colleagues have been interviewing over there who obviously lost their jobs, left all their belongings, might not have a lot of money available to them at this particular point in time. If that is the case, is the government prepared to facilitate their travel?
So first, there's for people who have been able to find a way here, we're finding that they are arriving in large numbers, as you pointed out off the top of your segment. But we are looking right now at different options to facilitate transportation of people. We haven't formalized the strategy with which we could help with that. But we are having conversations with different folks who have the opportunity to make a contribution, whether it's airlines, whether it's individuals who have the capacity to make significant contributions. One of the unique challenges with respect to air transit in this particular context that distinguishes it from a centrally managed UN-led refugee resettlement process is that we don't necessarily have hundreds or thousands of people approved to Canada who are in one physical location adjacent to an airstrip. After people are approved to Canada, many of them are traveling westward throughout Europe, where they have access to a safe place to have a roof over their head or to temporarily have a safe haven with their family. And when the people who are coming to Canada aren't located necessarily right next to a transit point, it requires a different and more tailored solution. But we're working right now to understand what options may exist so we can make sure that your ability to pay isn't a limiting factor to take part in Canada's resettlement process.
So if I interpret that correctly, the government is open to paying for people who are unable to do so to get here?
Look, we're open to a number of different strategies to accomplish getting people here, including having the Government of Canada look at a government-led option. But there are different opportunities, and we want to make sure that we maximize those opportunities in a way that will get the most people here as quickly as possible. And if that means that the Government of Canada has to play a role, then it's something we're looking at right now.
A few weeks ago, when you originally made the announcement that this program was coming, we had a former Quebec immigration minister who just happened to be on one of our strategist panels a few minutes after our conversation. And he pointed out it's certainly one thing to bring people here, but the settlement process and, acknowledging that, as we've discussed in previous weeks, likely most people who come will not be here forever, but now they can stay for up to 3 years instead of 2. You extended that period. Likely they will need some help getting settled. I've listened to various provinces make announcements, but most of them to that end, but most of them have been around the $300,000, $350,000 mark. Is the federal government prepared to transfer money to provinces in order to facilitate the settling of these refugees?
We need to have those conversations with the provinces, and I wouldn't dare preempt those conversations by making an announcement on a news broadcast before I'd had an opportunity to actually have those conversations with my provincial counterparts. I will say in the calls that I have been making to my to provincial immigration ministers, the spirit has been one of collaboration and Team Canada. To a person, they have all asked, what more can we do to help? So I'm encouraged by that response. With respect to the direct supports for resettlement, one of the unique features of the Ukrainian response is that a lot of people who are starting to come now are coming because they have family connections or a work history in Canada, and they may not need the same level of resettlement supports that a newcomer coming from a different part of the world without those kinds of connections may have. We want to make sure that as we move forward, we have a response that's tailored to the needs of the people who are coming. But we know that it's not enough just to get people here. We want to set them up for success once they arrive. So those conversations will continue because we're responding to the situation, which is changing day by day in real time. And as more facts emerge, we're going to be better positioned to make sure we set people up for success when they arrive.
Respectfully, Minister, why haven't those conversations occurred with the provinces yet? You made this announcement 3 weeks ago. You know that you're not setting a cap on the number of people who come here. I know you don't have exact numbers, but why haven't you spoken with provinces about the resources they might need? And granted, they might not need as many as other refugees, but they will need healthcare, they will need education if they're here for 3 years.
So these conversations have been happening. We haven't necessarily nailed down 100% of the details on what settlement supports are going to look like, because the nature of those supports is going to change based on the profile of people that we see here. One of the things that has already happened, for example, when we introduced eligibility for a work permit that's attached to the application to come here, if you're working on a work permit in Canada, you are entitled to provincial health care. We've had other provinces make statements about providing health care, providing child care to newcomers. These are conversations that are literally happening in real time. And I've actually just came immediately before this interview, had the opportunity to engage in Edmonton with the Ukrainian Canadian community locally to discuss with them what kind of supports may be appropriate for people who are coming to this part of the country. So these conversations are necessary to have on a daily basis in many instances to develop these programs, which usually would take years to roll out for a population that's coming in. And we're doing everything on an expedited basis as the facts change on a day-to-day basis.
So will there be more money? Is your government open to providing more money to provinces should the need arise?
These discussions are ongoing. We're open to many different solutions here, but I want to be careful not to prejudge what the best solution may be until we have the opportunity to finalize conversations with provinces and territories, with the Ukrainian Canadian community. But this matter has my full attention, and the minute we have something to announce, we will be making sure we share that information as widely as possible, because we want people to understand what to expect once they land in Canada.
Okay, before I let you go, I have a question for you, sort of tangential to the issue of the war, but not specific to your file, and that is around the idea of whether or not this war should compel governments to spend more on defense. Last night, your colleague, Anita Anand, the defense minister, was on this program, and she said she'd be putting forward 3 proposals to the government, to the finance minister's office around defense spending, and one of them included spending in excess of 2% on defense. Are you supportive of that?
I want to make sure that I have an opportunity to hear Minister Anand's reasonings behind her different options that she presents. My perspective is that we need to make sure that the armed forces is equipped to defend Canadian interests at home and abroad where necessary. And to the extent that the situation demands us to increase military spending to ensure that our security interests are protected, of course it would have my full support. I'm never one to make a conclusion before I've had an opportunity to hear the case made before me, but I look very much forward to better understanding the nuances of the different options, to making sure that we advance an option that's going to give Canada the capacity to protect its security interests. Okay, Minister, I'll leave it there. Appreciate your time as always. Thank you. A pleasure, as always. Thank you so much. Sean Fraser is Canada's Minister of Immigration and Refugees. Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.